Hello, 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 hello. How is everybody feeling? How's everybody grooving today? I don't think even people say grooving anymore, but I started saying grooving and I'm sticking with it, if I'm being honest. For better or for worse. For better or for worse. I was waiting to hear myself say for better or for worse. Boom, bam, boom, bada, boom. Boom, boom, bada, boom, bada, boom, boom. That's me! Just make sure that I've got myself on streamer mode so that I don't dox my friends. Could you imagine if if I had their like nickname as just like the name and address and a social security number for some reason? For one, I'd have to have that, which I don't think I've ever been given that of anybody. But two, it would just be so weird to have that as a nickname. Anyway, we're playing more of this game of Rogue Genesia. Genesia. We're gonna go through an A rank. Honestly, it could take the whole blooming 2 hours. It's a very long one. I could change the game mode, but I don't see a point in doing that. I like my game mode at the moment. Let me switch over to it. So, before we played this boy here, Nightrog. I've now since played all of these guys, and I can tell you my opinion is this one, really, really fun. This one, really, really fun. Any of them that have this line of dialogue right here. Not him. He's fine. There's this line of dialogue right here, where this is not 100, I dislike. Give me the ability to have multiple projectiles. Why would you not have that? I don't see the point in this guy. He's okay. This guy was fun. I didn't ever need the death door thing, so it didn't really matter. The crit is okay, I guess. This boy, I never played, and I never will, because I like to play relaxed while I'm playing. This boy, he's okay. I don't rate him. And this boy, I don't rate at all. But Summoner, he's fun. And so that's the one we're going to start the new game with. We're going to go play through this on A rank, and we're going to see how far we can get. Probably my guess is we'll have two instances of a... Two instances of trying to win. I guess we will not win either of them. Because the later stages... Because I have done one game where I've won. The later stages, it stops becoming dodge the attacks and starts becoming you better have defensive abilities. So this is the cool thing about the Summoner, is they have a bunch of unique weapons that are effectively just summoning enemies to attack things in different ways. That these dudes, these are damaging boys, like you can damage people with them. But they're just here to protect me from projectiles, for the most part. And then you have these small golems that you can send out like this. And they just go out and they run forward. They're the only aiming summons that I've come across at the moment. Oh, no, there was one other. But it's an interesting perspective because it has new and interesting stuff that I quite like using. I think what's cool about it as well is because they're not projectiles, I can sort of get away with the heavy projectile build I normally go. Anyway, how's everybody been doing over the past weekend? I don't really have much to talk about, honestly. We had we had Monday where we played more of this, and I realised that I've 100% got the like 10 quid I spent on this game worth of money out of this game. And then that was sort of all that happened on that day. Wednesday we played some more Baldur's Gate and followed the I guess the long-term thing of effectively these past couple Baldur's Gate streams have just been boss fight after boss fight after boss fight, because we're hitting that point in the game where it's just like finish off everything, but everything is a boss fight. So we fought the dragon, and the dragon it's kind of scary. Kind of have like, it had boss mechanics that were quite interesting. I don't know if I rate that fight hugely. I think what I want from a fight is I want a fight where they feel deadly, but it isn't over in an instant, like a lot of these fights seem to be. And they're not like too gimmicky. Like, I distinctly dislike the ability that a couple of them had where it was like, oh, if you have radiant damage, screw you, I guess. Because it feels weirdly targeted. Like, it's something I don't think I'd ever see in a regular game, because it feels weirdly targeted at a specific subset of people. You know, it's like, hey, all those people that decided to have heavy radiant damage, screw you, I guess. And it just meant that I know they couldn't have expected this, because I changed the class of Shadowheart, but I don't want that. It just meant that I didn't get the... Shadowheart didn't get to be the main reason why we won, or be a major factor in why we won against her adversary. Her, like, final battle, effectively. And because of that, I got... I'm not going to say slightly annoyed, but it did feel a bit weird. And for that to come up twice as well, because it also came up on the Devil, I was just like, what are they doing here? But yeah, overall, been having fun with these boss fights. It was definitely a bit of a twist. I won't go 100% into it, but there's a bit of a twist with the dragon fight that I was very surprised. Well, first off, it being a fight in general was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun playing through that. Even though I'm a bit nervous occasionally whenever I'm playing, because I'm like, oh god, am I going to not know what to do, or am I going to screw over a different part of the story? And I'd like to say I'm getting better at it, but I'm not. I'm just getting further in the game, so there's less stuff that I can mess up. So I'm not having as big of a problem. But it's still one of those situations where I'm just sitting there going, oh, have I messed something up? Have I done X? Have I done Y? Because, you know, you never know when the... Hold on a second, what is that connected to? Okay. You never know when the cutoff point is. They try and help you. But I think they try and help you in a way that isn't obvious, because they don't want to incredibly metagame it, which I completely understand. They don't want it to be like, hey, outside of the story, if you do this, and this quest fails. But yeah, it's a weird situation. But I'm having a lot of fun with it, and it's definitely one of those games where I'm just sitting there going, it's insane to me that I'm getting to actually play a game of the year caliber game. Hold on a second. I forgot to keep my Twitch on in another tab. The reason I do that is so that I know if I'm making any mistakes. And it's insane to be like, hey, you know this Game of the Year candidate game? Oh, well, not Game of the Year candidate, Game of the Year game. Yeah, I'm playing it relatively soon after it came out. It's like what I imagine people who got to play Mass Effect when Mass Effect first came out felt like. Whereas, like, I never got to play Mass Effect when it was... I didn't get to play Mass Effect until... It was like 4 years ago that I played the Mass Effect series. Just before... I've said this before, but it was just before the... What's the word I'm thinking of? I'm gonna kill 110 elites? Excuse me? But yeah, it was just before the remaster came out, and those games were insane. I can only imagine how good they would have been if I was playing them like when they actually came out, instead of playing them after everybody's copied from them because they were, you know, the standard for a while. Jesus, I've got to kill blimmin'... Can you at least send a load of these elites if I'm going to be having to kill 110 of them? This is actually insane. This is... I know that this quest... I'm not going to say it's bugged, but this quest always gives insane numbers of elites. But I didn't expect it to be 110. And the blimmin' enemy count to be at the level where I'm surprised that I'm still killing stuff. Let's reroll. I want something else. I need healing. Do I have any regen at the moment? I don't think I do. I've got the lust thing, which is like every time you take damage, your regen goes up, but it doesn't hugely help here. Let's just send a line through here. Okay, I've got a bit more regen now. But yeah, like, it's still insane. And then, obviously, we've been playing Final Fantasy 14 on the Fridays. And I can't really complain about that either. I'm having a metric ton of fun with that. The story is definitely on the lower end now. I definitely think they cooked with the starting bit, and when it ends, when Wukalamat succeeds, the story has kind of gone downhill a bit. But then I simultaneously, as I think I've said on the actual stream itself, I simultaneously know why they've done that, because... Wait, who's got the lightning? You do. I think it should be on you. The reason I put it on this person is because those eagles are not appearing fast enough. This isn't really helping either. I want damage. I'll pick Gluttony up as well. I am surprised how quickly we're actually killing these elites. I expected this to take a hell of a lot longer. Have I mentioned my love of like giants, especially in D&D, and the giant races? I think they've got a hugely underrated like monster list for the giants, because obviously you've got the basic giants, and other than potentially the hill giant, all of them have an interesting part to them. You know, you've got the stone giants who believe that the above land is like the dreaming, and they never set in it because it's literally supposed to be like, oh no, that's the place of like unpredictability, and like that's just supposed to be a place that you dream about. You never go there, which is a really interesting thing to do, because then they have that unique guy a unique giant that's like, oh no, I'm considered like a dreamer, dream walker, because I actually walk on the surface. And stuff like that is like, oh, that's a really interesting concept. You've got the ice giants, who are the only sort of giants that, because the whole culture before was hunting and scouting, and that was sort of their purpose in the overarching society, you've got them living entirely hunter-gathering societies, as compared to all the others that, bar maybe the hill giants that just sort of live in tribes, kind of live in cities, or in like proper like, you know, cultures. They live in just like hunter-gathering societies. You've got the fire giants who were, you know, born and bred for war. So, you know, they're blacksmiths, they're so that they can make their own weapons. They're warriors so that they can use their own weapons. They're generals because, you know, because they know military strategy to use those weapons better. And things like that. And like, because of that, and because they don't know how to do all the stuff, they take a lot of people into, and by taking, it's just a nice way of saying they enslave a lot of people to do all the other kinds of work that is needed. Then you got the cloud giants, who are literally just giant nobles that live in literal cloud palaces. You've got blimmin' storm giants who look at like a leaf that falls over in a forest and goes, that's an omen that the world is going to end in 25 years. You know, like, they've all got interesting parts to them. And I do feel like if I looked into the hill giants, there's easily something I could do with them as well. It's just I don't really know much about them, other than the fact that it's a punishment and an act of like penance in their society to not eat. And so they'll have people that are like starved, and they look like, generally kind of look like on a thinner side regular person's stature, but they're absolutely raving mad because eating is such a big part of their society. But even if you take away them and the interesting things you can do with them as separate factions, or like as as a one big faction, you also have the things that fall under the giants. So like the Oni, who are just like, hey, what if the thing that, a bit like a bugbear in the sense of like, hey, what if the thing that you were really scared of, the big scary beast, also was just insanely stealthy and smart and had illusions? So you're sitting here going like, okay, well at least we'll see the guy coming. He's scary, he's evil, but at least we'll see him coming. It's like, nope, he's that fox over there, and he turns into a giant blimmin' raving Oni and destroys you. This is that's the kind of person they are. And that's why I'm like, they're so cool. Then you've got like trolls. Trolls are always really, really fun. There's loads of interesting things you can do with them, with the fact they have incredible regeneration. I love the blimmin' troll that is just full of poison, but obviously isn't dying of the poison because he regenerates, but then he's also just regenerating more poison, so he's just this incredibly like bloated, poison-filled troll. Also an interesting thing you can do with trolls that has been done a couple times and I've seen in fantasy stuff. They've got insane regeneration. There is not a kingdom in the world that wouldn't want to have that for their soldiers, or for medical reasons, to help people regrow limbs that they've lost, you know? Like, to help fight off infections and stuff. Like, they are incredibly interesting for research. And so having them be a plot hook of it just being like, yeah, they're using the blood of this troll and it's working, but maybe it's got some side effects that they didn't really realize until they've given all the blood out. Kind of like a Bloodborne, the blood is tainted kind of feel. Is something that could be really interesting to do with the troll stuff. Then you've got blimmin' Cyclopses. I have a soft spot for them because they're a very, very easy way to do a completely what's the word, passive and quote unquote good giant. Having them as just a shepherd on a huge mountain that you just go past, and you ask them information, you know, maybe you trade a bit with them, have a meal with them, and you know, just they're generally good people, is something that I think is the default for giants a lot of the time is evil, right? And so having it where it's like, oh no, this guy's actually just a shepherd. He just lives his life as a shepherd, and that's his job. Is something I always like the idea of. You got ogres, which, other than the obvious meme of like you can do Shrek, which I guess is a bit less relevant for the younger kids nowadays, because Shrek's pretty old as a show now. I guess Puss in Boots isn't. That came out relatively recently, but still. Other than that, they are very, very good. I don't have much to say about them, honestly, when it comes to what's the word? When it comes to plot hooks for them, there's a couple things you can do with them that I do find slightly interesting, but they're a bit more of like, they're a bit more bare bones than some of the other things I've been talking about. So, for example, what you can do with ogres is because they're not that big in comparison to other giants, and they're a lower CR, you can do a very interesting thing of making them a relatively big kingdom or tribe or something, and have them have more of like more classes, not in the like the traditional sense of D&D sort of classes, but having them like, oh no, they're an actual society. Look, they may be dumb, they may not be at the level of tech as, say, whatever your normal tech level is for that world, and honestly, they could be at that level. You could easily take it and put it on its head and just have it where, oh no, these are just this is a genuine kingdom of ogres, without it seeming too out there. Like a kingdom of giants, you're like, oh god, that's like if they're evil, that's an endgame threat. Kingdom of Ogres? Well, it's just ogres. They're scary, sure, but they're not like insta-death, we need to all focus them scary. I don't know why I took so much damage. But I'm fine. So that's some way you can do it. There's also another way that I was thinking is that, like, it sort of works in the same way as the first thing I said, but it's what you can do is you can go the route of, okay, I've got, say, like I want to have my end game boss, or the end game, or the boss of this specific area be a fire giant general, but I don't want this. I want him to have minions, but I can't give him more fire giants because those things are insanely high CR for the level that we're at the moment. How do I give him a group that follows him? And you can go the route of, like, maybe some sort of evil cult that follows him that are more like humanoid that you can fight, and maybe they have fire-based abilities from the worship of him or something, right? But if you want to go with the, oh no, he's just got sort of the giants on his side, giving him ogres whose CR is significantly lower than his gives him an army that is scary, but isn't too overwhelming that you're like, what's the word? That your party can't deal with it until much later on. So that is another way you can do it. I hate to always say that, like, I hate to use a whole species as just like, these are subordinates. But it's just one of the few things I've thought about for them. Other than that, there's a couple of other giants, but, like, I mean, undead giants is just, it's a whole other kettle of fish with that. You've got all the ones that follow the elemental evils, which I kind of like as a concept, because they do have a very, very close connection with elements. Obviously, with most of them being related to an element of some variety. I was thinking about this the other day, because I was thinking about, like, changing the society... Not the society... Oh... Not the society, necessarily, but the sort of the structure of the D&D Giants main faction. Because as much as I do like the main Giants in general, I do feel like I don't really see the relevance of the Hill Giants more than just being the dumb butt of the jokes, right? I kind of liked changing the society so when they talk about a strict hierarchy, and the hierarchy's still in place in this hypothetical idea I came up with. But I just changed the... I guess in my head, the feel of it, of the Hill Giants. So normally the Hill Giants are incredibly dumb, kind of only used for manual labor, kind of the worst of the worst giants, right? And it doesn't really in my head work with the idea that all the others have of, like, everyone has an obvious purpose, everybody's important. And I know it's like, oh yeah, manual labor is obviously important, right? There's always got to be someone doing that kind of stuff. Not everyone can have the specialist jobs. But I kind of liked the idea of, instead of them just being this flat, like, dumb kind of subspecies of giant, instead of that, having it where their purpose is still manual labor, and they obviously, you show that off by saying that they have more stamina than they're built with more stamina, and that's partly shown by the fact that they are, like, their builds are generally, like, have more fat content, like, are fatter, because it's like, oh, they've got more stamina so that they can go for longer kind of thing. It kind of makes sense. In that pseudo magical way that every fantasy thing makes sense. And then also just having an extra little bit of like, oh, and they also have a deep affinity with nature. You know, like having them a deep affinity with kind of leaning into like the earth. It's like, oh, they have a deep affinity with plants and animals because, you know, plants especially come from the earth. You know, the whole cycle of life starts effectively with the earth and everything. And having that is like, oh yeah, they're also the farmers. They're also the, you know, the shepherds. They're also the stable master kind of thing. I think it was a kind of cool way of, I don't know, for me, lifting them up a bit. I also kind of liked the idea of turning the other sort of the other sort of like sub race of the base giants that I didn't really understand their purpose much in the ice giants. Having it where, in addition to the fact that they're like master scouts and hunters and stuff, having it where it's like, oh, they're master scouts and hunters because of this specific thing, because of their cold constitution. They can stand completely still, and you know, some forms of vision don't even see them because they're that cold. They can blend in with the natural heat of the wherever they live. That kind of thing also lends itself well to jobs that require insane precision. And so maybe they are like also quite good, like, I don't know, jewelry makers and stuff. You know, like, I kind of liked the idea of going into the giant society and just going, how about I just add a bunch of stuff that these groups can do that is not necessarily the one purpose that they're shown to have, or not necessarily objectively warlike, because why would they be made to only have stuff relating to war when ideally they'd want to be in a situation where they'd never need, say, the fire giants if all they do is be warriors. Ideally, they'd want to be in a situation where eventually they would never need them. So having something in place, bearing in mind that this whole structure is supposedly done by their god, right? You would have thought they'd have jobs in place and potential other ways that they can be helpful to giant society that isn't specifically fighting, was my thinking with it. And I think I like the idea. I think there's some more I can do when it comes to the ice and fire giants. Because the stone giants, it's obvious. With the stone giants, you have rune crafting and building. And so the logic of like, oh, what do they do when there's not war? It's like, well, the runes that aren't used on weapons, for one. They're instead used on, you know, farming equipment, or making sure that buildings are structurally sound, and, you know, that kind of stuff. And another thing that they do is something a lot, is that, like, as I said with the structure thing, they're also good architects, and so maybe that's what, when they're not at war, they're building houses, you know? With the fire giants, it's a bit more tangential. Like, what do they do? They're originally soldiers, but what do they do when they're not soldiers? Um, Obviously, the first thing is the thing that they also are known to be doing, which is blacksmithing. But it's like, do you just give them just that? And I think that's my problem with this one, and to a lesser extent the ice one. It's like, I don't think I've given the out of the um secondary what's the word secondary job they can do um as big of a reach, because it's like, blacksmiths are good, yeah, they're important, but in like a society, you don't need like that much of them, right? In a society where like magic is such a prominent thing, I can see why you'd need a hell of a lot of like people who do rune crafting, right? I can see that. And in a society where, in a huge society, you're obviously going to need a load of manual workers and farmers, and so it makes sense for the hill giants. But, like, not every one of them can be blacksmiths. I guess you could also say that they could be the police force. That is something that is notable. You're always going to need some form of royal guard, especially for the higher ups. So there's that as well. I guess actually the fire one's got it a bit. It's fine actually. Because at the end of the day, you're always going to need a small group of it that are a standing army. Because you're never realistically going to be so much at peace that you don't even need a standing army of some variety in these worlds. But with the ice one, it's like I've gone, oh, potentially you can have like jobs that require precision. But like, what else requires precision? Do you go like... Because when I was thinking like jewelry crafting, I was like, oh, that requires a specific hand. I kind of like the idea of them also doing like fashion. I like the idea of like them doing a lot of this sort of like, I don't know what the word is, but like sewing, fashion designing, sort of the textile-y things, anything that requires very precise things, and they probably would then give it over to the... Like, I kind of like the idea that, say that you want to make a very important and special weapon, right? Because you got to link it to war, because it's mostly going to be war in these settings. You would, in an ideal world, you would have the blacksmith who... Well, you would have the hill giant who would have, using its innate ability to feel the earth and everything, found the best quality ore for use. You would then give that ore to the fire giant blacksmith. The fire giant blacksmith would then turn said ore into the sort of the rough weapon, whether they would then hand that over to the ice giant that would put in the specific like gold rims, or the specific like finer details that you would put on after the fact to not only make the sword seem more fancy, but maybe for freaking magical reasons or something, you need this kind of material in there to allow it to conduct better or something. Then you would give it to the stone giant that would inscribe the runes of whatever it is, who would then hand it over to their superior, which would be the cloud giant, who would then give that over to whoever most needs it. And then you have the storm giant above that's protected the whole thing. You know, that kind of thing. Because a branch fell in the forest. I kind of like that. I like making the giant society a more fully functioning society. So I know I've been rambling about that, but it was sort of what I was thinking about in bed the other day, because this is the sort of things I think about when I'm trying to sleep. It's just I think up of like a story that I'm in, or a story that I'm in, or like a world building exercise that I want to do for myself. And giants is normally one of the things I go for. That and elementals and occasional demonic things. But yeah, I really like the idea of them being, for me, feeling a bit more like a cohesive unit, where I don't like that they do this, but in the actual lore, the hill giant god and the hill giants in general are just incredible butts of the jokes. Like, they're never actually rated. Like, all the other people, it's kind of like, it kind of feels like, oh, they got a purpose and we need them for this specific thing. Obviously there's the hierarchy, but we still rate them as what they do, and their part is important. And then it's like, oh, and there's also the hill giants that I guess they exist, we use them, but like, screw them. I always feel very sorry for them, because they do an important job. The manual labor, like, they're doing all the bits that's being the front line that isn't armed head to toe in heavy armor like all the blimmin' fire giants are, is you know, it's not an enviable job. And that's their job, you know? And so moving it up there and like adding the fact that like it's more obvious now how much of an importance the hill giants have, in addition to, you know, all the other giants. I kind of like it as more of a... I kind of just like it more. I also had this sort of idea of like switching up the gods a bit. Because from what I remember of the books, there's not really much given about what the gods actually like act like, other than the fact that the hill giant's the butt of the joke and is always like, oh, he tried to steal something and he failed, or blah blah blah. Like, he's always just the butt of the joke. He's the smallest, he's the weakest, he's the, you know, all that kind of stuff. I kind of like switching it up, having the sort of the hill giants like god instead be a goddess, and it be a goddess of like that very much embodies that sort of like hearth and home kind of thing, and having it where it's like, oh, she's very in touch with the nature part as well, you know, that. But having her as this just like smiling grandmother sort of style figure, I feel like would be a kind of cooler thing than just, he's just the butt of the joke kind of. Not sure about the others, but I definitely thought that sort of change to them would be cool. I'm not even a huge fan of the hill giants. It's just when I look at I'm a big fan of order, as I've brought up many times, and there is a order, even a bit, even though it's kind of evil, with the giants of like, this is the job, this is what you're born to do, uh, do this, and look, that's bad. Obviously, that's bad. You should always have the ability to do whatever you want to do, right? But there is an appeal to that. There's no denying that there's an appeal to the idea that, like, oh, don't worry about it. You This is what you do. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to sit there blooming with your in high school going like, oh, they're asking me what I want to do now, which subjects I want to take. I don't freaking know. How the hell am I supposed to know? All I was thinking about before was like getting home for blooming to watch the cartoons. Now you're telling me I've got to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Now? You know, that kind of feel? I do kind of like the idea as well, linking into just what I said, because this just came to me. The idea that the reasoning behind the switch to the reasoning behind some of the giants switching to becoming elemental evil giants is just because it gives you the freedom to do something that is not what your subspecies does. Like, I really like the idea of well, maybe not specifically going to the elemental evil cult, but like a rebellious giant who all he wants to do, he's like a hill giant, and all he wants to do is he wants to like, he wants to be like a craftsman. He just wants to make jewelry, and the society inherently said no because he's not an ice giant, and so he doesn't have the precision hands to do it. That kind of thing. I don't know. I kind of like. I feel like there's a lot you can do with that. Whether it's in a D&D game, whether it's in a fantasy book, who knows? But I definitely like the idea of it, and feel like there's more you can do with it. God, I really want to get a hand on that monster manual, but I don't have the money to really be spending on luxuries at the moment. It's just so many bills and everything, you know. But I have been waiting to see if it comes out anywhere else, and just seeing if I can read some of the stats. I did see though, because I was able to see a couple of them that I think were posted somewhere. I don't remember where. I think it was on Reddit. I did see that there was a high CR plant, which I'm pretty hyped about. I even like the lore of the kind of like the tree that made all the blights, whose whole shtick is it's like a powerful tree that a vampire got like staked onto, and its blood drained into the tree, and now the tree is like tainted and evil, but also has become significantly more powerful. I really like that as a concept. It is a bit of a shame, and it's kind of fine. You can do this yourself, so it's not as bad. But it is a bit of a shame that the stat block for it is kind of generic. It's just like melee attack, ranged attack, and it has one sort of special ability, which is that it can like do this sort of AoE grapple that, while grappled with it, you get your health drained, and it heals, if I remember correctly, from the health you have drained. It's a cool concept. I love the idea of it. I was just hoping for better things. Like, it has an ability that isn't a base ability, but is sort of like a lair action kind of thing, where it's like, it shoots out these seeds, and they after in a long rest they grow into like the different kinds of blights, depending on what you roll, which is a cool idea. I'm just sitting there going like, would it have been that powerful if you gave that as like a legendary action it had? Where it's like it uses all its legendary actions and summons, you roll a die and you either get like 3 tree blights, 3 twig blights, or 3 thorn blights or something. I don't know. I don't think that would have been too powerful, and if it was, I'd weaken its other attacks. Just because I think that would be a kind of cool concept. It's like, oh, you're attacking it. It drops these seeds onto the ground. They instantly grow into these blights. Also, and this is a little nitpicky thing, they did a lot of emphasis in the... when they were like doing promotional material for it, of mentioning that, like, especially with the undead, and also the, I guess, vampires, which also are tangentially undead, but that there was a structure. Like, we've made it so that there's sort of like something at each of the CRs, so that you could build, like, you could have these enemies at any level, and it kind of allowed there to be sort of, oh, you could see how like an army of them would work, right? You've got these different levels of structure in the of, like, say, vampires, or like zombies, then there's like death revenants or whatever, then there's like the death champions and stuff. You know, there's levels to everything. I really liked that as a concept. It's a shame it didn't work for, it wasn't a thing for everything, you know? Because I'm sitting there going, okay, so you got all the low CR, Twig Blight, Thorn Blight, and Twig Blight, Thorn Blight, and I think that's it. I think there might be a Vine one as well. And remove, banishes and removes most soul guns that increase your FP gain. Sure. I was sitting there going, come on, are you sure you couldn't just, like, add a couple of things? I know that the book is already big and you're adding a lot of monsters, but you couldn't have added, like, you couldn't have added, like, some things, because it's like, okay, I'm bad at talking at the moment, but the CR of the big scary plant thing is like CR 17, right? It's an insane sort of boss fight. You know, that's an end game threat. That's like a kind of a BBG of your game potentially, right? And then you look at the twig blights and all the other blights, and I think the like the highest CR is the tree blight, and it's a CR 3. And I'm just going like, really? That's it? Like, it's... And they don't even use the fact that the best things they can summon are CR3 to, like, give them, like, maybe a reaction where if they take some amount of damage, if the damage is at maybe, like, fire or radiant, and have the fire and radiant be its weakness, maybe it can, as a reaction, drop these seeds onto the ground. And these seeds, the next turn, grow into... Maybe you could have it where, like, these seeds drop on the ground, and if you don't use an action to destroy the seeds, or maybe if you don't use an attack to destroy the seeds, you, next turn they grow into one of those blights. I think that would be a really cool concept, because it adds that whole thing of, like, do I waste an attack on killing a seed? Or do I still focus down the boss? But if I focus down the boss may not die. And I'd be left with the boss and a bunch of its subordinates. don't know, I think that would have been a cool little bit to add. Or just add blights that are stronger, you know? I don't know what you'd call them, because you've already used tree, which is normally the late... Tree is normally the, like, late game thing for anything nature related. Like, for example, the treant is obviously the, used to be one of, if not the highest, what's the word? Plant-based, enemy. I don't know. It is one of those, like, nitpicky things where I haven't looked through the whole book, but I hopefully it's not all like this, of just like, is this all you did? You gotta give him more cool abilities, you know? If I'm fighting a BBG, I want him to have a cool ability that, like, maybe even fundamentally is completely different to how you normally would play a fight. Give it a cool effect, like a damage over time that makes it so that the fight has a solid time limit of, like, oh no, if we don't beat him by now, he'll just, the damage over time will just become too much. Or, like, maybe he causes you to have fatigue. Maybe he just adds, his whole shtick is he just adds a load of fatigue to stuff. You know, like, this is all off the top of my head, so I'm obviously it's not 100%, but still, it's like, these are the kinds of things I feel like I'd want in my game to just make it a bit more, I don't want to say interesting, because I mean, it'd still be fun, like, but like just making, yeah, I guess the boss more interesting. I am glad that we got something like that, though. I'm glad we got the plants. Because I did feel like they were sorely missing something. Because it's just, as I've said many times, it's like, you look at it and you go, well, nature's like a huge part on these settings, and there's nothing that's objectively nature, just nature, that is powerful, which I find quite weird. You could make arguments for, say, like, the Fae. The Fae is probably the closest you're going to get to nature stuff, but, like, they're not nature. They're tricksters. Nature inherently isn't tricky. You know, it isn't this sort of like constant tricking you sort of chaotic situation. There's chaos there, sure, but there's also like natural order to the thing. The prey get eaten by the predator. The predator, when it dies, feeds the grass. The circle of life and all that. You know, the kind of natural order of things. Survival of the fittest is inherently order, you know? But that doesn't feel very Fae. I don't know. It's one of those situations where I'm just sitting there going like, come on, there's got to be more you can do with that. And so I'm glad that they gave him, admittedly not a particularly high CR compared to what they've given some of the other people, but a high CR. I don't think piercing matters with this, but I don't think I want that. A high CR blimmin' plant of some variety, even if it's not particularly the one. It's not 100% what I'd want, you know? Do we want Goblin Ear or Wind's Feather? I mean, these are doing significantly more damage. Like, why does this one do so much more damage than this one? This one's got more defense, but doesn't make nearly as many. Summon the giant worm. Yes, please. I want the giant worm one to be the strongest thing imaginable. I'll take the explosive mushrooms as well. I'm really sad that you know what, I'm locking that. We're in here for the long haul. Oh, look at the giant worm. Look at these giant worms. Hey, cat. Hey, cat. No, 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 no. Don't press any buttons. Don't look at me as like, hey, give me strokes because I'm here now. You know I'm doing something at the moment. That's why you're trying to interrupt me and get love. You know what's really weird? That less so now, but still sort of a thing, is not necessarily a change of mindset that I've had, but a change on what happens, like stuff that's happening. That's, I guess, been a gradual thing. Is I'm a lot happier about Mondays now. I'm not gonna go as far to say that I'm happy when it hits Monday, but I'm a lot happier on Monday, because it used to be for effectively all the time I worked, and to a lesser extent when I was at school. It used to be that it's like, oh, it's Monday. I hate Mondays because Monday means I'm back at blimmin' school or work, and it's so long before I get another bit of time off. Why are they all going? Oh, right there. But now is slightly different. And what I mean by slightly different is, obviously still going to work, still all that stuff. I haven't suddenly just decided not to work or something. But the difference I'm sort of talking about is that sorry, I'm concentrating on not dying to the endless amounts of worms. You can sort of see what I meant though, right? When I was like, it becomes less about dodging and more about, I guess, tanking. But yeah, having the stream on Mondays, having the... Yeah, I'll take less gold. I'll take that. Fine. Having the stream on and having Monday Night Raw to watch, having these two weekly events that happen, regularly, means that I'm in a situation where, look, I'm still not happy that I'm going to work, and I'm still not happy to be going to work, but at the very least I know that there's something I'm looking forward to on Monday, so that it's not horrendously bad. I think realizing that, having that be a thing, is definitely made it a hell of a lot better. I mean, as I said before, still don't particularly like Mondays, but anyway. It's better. I hate this ability. Whoever added that to the game, why? I'm not going to say it's bad because, I don't know, maybe it isn't bad, but why? Also, why give a combination of that plus revive plus splitting? So it's just like, oh, it gets stronger every time it dies for 3 instances, and when you finally do kill it, it then splits into 2 smaller ones that also do that, except they don't have the splitting tag, because that would be insane, because you would have infinite then. Yeah, God, in this game, the best blimmin' artifact, and the one that I don't think I've ever won a run without, is the one where if you get hit, you become invincible for a certain amount of time. I wonder if that's just me and everyone's just really good at dodging other than me. But for me, it's by far the best weapon. Best artifact to have. You know, whenever I get this kill within an allotted time to get extra stuff, I'm always just, it's never a problem of like, oh, I can't kill them fast enough. It's always a problem of, oh, there's no enemies here. You know, there's nothing here for me to defeat. But I mean, you can see what I meant when I said that this is going to be a long form thing, because like although we did lose once, we lost on the first boss, and so like we didn't really lose a load of time from doing that. And so other than that one loss, we've been going on just this run. And you can see from what's happening here. Oh, I think I could do it if it was 800. I don't think I can do it if the target is 870, sadly. Ooh, maybe. No. What a shame. But yeah, like other than that one death, we've been on the same thing this whole time, and look at what's happening now. It's been an hour and 6 minutes, and we're not actually even at the final area. We're not even at the second to last final area. There's 2 more areas after this area, and we haven't even gotten past the mini boss of this area. I do question why this is the only place that has a mini boss that's unique. Well, the only place that really has a mini boss in general. I don't like that one. I do wonder why, but it makes me wonder if this is where they expect the average person to end their run. And so that's why they gave it a mini boss, because it's kind of this is the end to the average run that you do. I think that would make some sense. I played a game over the weekend. I was playing... I forget its name. It's called I think it's called 33 Immortal. Or let me look it up. Let me look it up. Hold on a second. Yeah, 33 Immortals. And I was quite interested in this game because it was the big selling point of this game is that it can be 33 player co-op. And look, I'm never going to get to 33 player co-op with a bunch of people that I know, because I don't think I've got 33 friends that play games. I don't think I've got 33 friends, actually. And I don't think that's like, oh, woe is me. I just straight up don't think that that's a particularly common thing. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I don't think I've... The average person has 33 friends that they actively would call a friend and not like an acquaintance. Like, I could put everybody in my work that I talk to on the regular, but are they really friends if I never talk to them out of work and everything we talk about is work related? I wouldn't count them. Anyway, I got off track again. 33 Immortals, that was its big selling point. But I went into it and I was like, okay, but how's the solo experience? Slightly worried that like, oh, well, it's not the gimmick they're trying to go for, so maybe they haven't put much into the solo experience. I was actually kind of wrong, because what I thought before I was like, Before I thought that it was supposed to be a gimmick of like you play with 33 of your friends, but actuality, you're just on this like really big sort of like map, like a yeah, just like a really big map which has like points on it. No, I think I'm being deceiving by saying it's a really big map. It is it's an average size map, right? And you're on this, and there's no way I'm killing 1,000. I couldn't kill 870 before. And you're on there, and even if you're playing solo, you do have people helping you. Because it's just that there's just like a 33 people on that server that just sort of, I don't think you can talk with them in any capacity, but they're just there and you help each other because why wouldn't you? Because the fights are insanely long because your damage is based on the fact that they assume that you're going to be working with a bunch of people. Plus, you're supposed to like get passive upgrades over time, and a lot of those upgrades are like one defense to everyone on the map. And I gave it a bit of a go. I didn't really, the gameplay didn't really gel with me. I immediately saw a problem of like, oh, here's all the dungeons where you get the cool artifacts. There's a limit of 6 people to go into these dungeons. I played for a couple hours. I could never get into a dungeon because everyone was just already there and going through it before I could even run over to the place. You know? And it's those kinds of things where I'm like, I mean, it'd be different if I was maybe in a private server, but I definitely feel like that's a negative for it. And also just because they expect it to, at maximum, have 33 people working as one unit. The enemies are just very, very tanky. Even if they're like not hard to dodge, they're pretty tanky in general. And so they just make it so it's such of a slog to actually get through the fights if you've got like 1 or 2 people there. But it's in early access, or the equivalent of early access, the beta sort of thing. So I'm, I don't want to go like it's completely horrendous, give up on it, that kind of thing. The gameplay wasn't for me, but it definitely there was, there's a decent game in there. I'm not gonna say it's a bad game. And another thing I did was that, and I tweeted a bit about this, but I was like, I got in this mood to play some more Pokemon, and I absolutely adore Pokemon, and getting into the sort of fan game community, I'd say maybe, I'm trying to think when I started it. I would say probably maybe 2 years ago, maybe around the COVID, maybe later, maybe more than that. I feel like I played a couple of them around the COVID time, so it might be much later, much earlier than I was saying. But yeah, getting into that whole idea and just seeing this insane amount of like fan games and ROM hacks just sort of take the existing Pokemon sort of franchise and just add a load of features that everybody's been asking for, and that in some cases they were doing it well before they were eventually just added into Pokemon in general. Like the XP All was in a lot of fan games before it came to Pokemon. The having like every one of your Pokemon be able to walk beside you in the game is a feature they had and then they removed, and everyone loved that feature, and so they went, yeah, we're just gonna put it in our fan games, obviously, because why not? And so I um, started playing through one of them. It's called Pokemon Eon Guardians. Very, very fun. No, I would say that because I was thinking about this as well because I saw this art that existed. Somebody had done like their own sort of custom region based on like the southern part of Spain, and there was these really cool things. And I was thinking of like, oh, how would you transfer this into a game and everything? And one of the things I've sort of learned over time is I'm not a huge fan of when people put gimmicks into their game that I don't think are interesting or needed. My sort of my thinking for this is like I understand you want to add gimmicks because you want to do what Pokemon does, where you know they have Dynamax, they have X, they have Y, you know, things in their games that is the new thing that they do. But most of them, in my opinion, bar potentially bar Mega Evolutions, are bad. They're just bad. I didn't like Dynamax. I didn't like Z moves. I didn't like blimmin' Terror typing. The only upside of Terror typing was the fact that you could, it meant that there was a really cool thing you could do in competitive. But I don't play competitive, so I never cared about that. And so I'm just sitting there going, well, this is it's fun, but it's not great. I do understand the logic of like Z moves, Dynamax, Terroring is like, oh, everyone can do that. So it's like people don't feel left out when their Pokemon doesn't get a Mega Evolution, right? And I understand that. I just don't like it. And so whenever I see games where they add in like a custom typing, or they add in a custom way to play the game or something, I'm just like, I don't need this. What I want out of my game, and I know I'm probably, I don't know if I'm in the minority actually. I was about to say I know I'm in the minority, but I actually don't know if I am. I don't want a game that's overly difficult. I don't want a game that's overly difficult. I don't want a game with a weird mechanic that I'm probably not going to, statistically not going to like. What I want out of what I want out of a fan game is I want an interesting story. An interesting story that allows me to get through the game at the difficulty I wanted to go at. So little difficulty, but never insanely bad. I mean, I'm the kind of person that's like, I have to really think about, oh, what is this weak to? And for the most part, I could name you maybe one weakness of each type. And for some of them, I couldn't name you a single weakness of their type. And I'm the kind of person that until the XP All came out, I just focused one creature, put all of my XP into that, and it would just be heavily over leveled, so it just beat everything, you know? I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying that's how I played. And so being in this sort of situation where there's some games where it's just like, cool, I want to play your cool story. Oh, to play it, I have to sit through. I have to try and get through these gym leaders that have like incredible typing courage, and have a limit on how many creatures you can bring into it, and expect me to not use the the Pokemon I want to use, but instead just the right ones to survive the encounter. I think that's the biggest thing, right? My plan is, when I'm going into a Pokemon game, is I want to play the Pokemon that look cool, that I've always wanted to play but never got the chance to, in a cool and interesting story that is better than base Pokemon, which isn't hard because base Pokemon story is more borderline non-existent a lot of the time, and with features in it that everybody has wanted, but that Pokemon have not been adding to their games. That isn't incredibly freaking buggy like most modern Pokemon games seem to be. And that sounds like a lot of stuff, but I actually think in the long run that's not a lot of stuff. And so when I see I won't harp about it, but I don't like a metric ton of the special mechanics they came up with. I don't mind. I actually quite like it if you've made your own custom Pokemon though. It's always really cool to see what people's designs are, and then later on see if like those designs were also thought up by, the Pokemon makers, and they have a Pokemon that's very similar added into theirs. And I don't mind like if the gimmick is that there's like variants of like the Alolan form equivalents. I don't mind that because that's not really a gimmick. That's just you made your own Fakemon, right? You made your own Pokemon. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun going through Young Guardians, just sort of using Pokemon I never normally would use, just because I liked when playing these games. I gave myself some sort of rules, which is like, first off, you just use whatever you feel like is fun, right? Second off, and this is the biggest one, is try when possible to have typing coverage. So pick Pokemon you to add to your group that you don't have that typing for yet. Which sounds obvious, right? But you'd be surprised how often my my group has consisted of a hell of a lot of hell of a lot of ground types and a couple of grass types, because they're my two favorite types. And then whatever legendary I get, because of course. But yeah, it's been fun to play through slowly. I had this certain mindset where I was like, oh, I've got to play it now, and then I realized, no, actually, the way that Pokemon is sort of like its presiding philosophy that a lot of games also take in is like, you can leave it for a bit, come back, and you know exactly where you need to go because it's the only way you can go. It's very linear in that aspect. And the story is significantly better in the... It's significantly better in the newer ones, but it's still to the point where it's like, oh, you can sort of figure out what's happening. But yeah, I've been having a metric ton playing that. Also, just because it's a very calming game, and my two types of games are big RPGs that like span huge amounts of areas and take a metric ton of time to complete, and games where you turn off your brain. It's literally the extremes, right? It's one extreme or the other. But I honestly think that, like, that's fine. Sometimes you want to focus on a game and have a video on the side that just casually is not really taking up too much of your attention. Sometimes you want the exact reverse, where your attention's being on the actual video, and the game is just a sideline thing that you don't want to even really look at too much, other than I move this here, end turn. A lot of turn-based games go into the sort of not brain dead, but sort of brain turn off kind of situation. And please don't take that as like in negative context, because I know brain dead is occasionally used in that aspect. I am using that in like, this is good because it allows me to just play it without even thinking, kind of thing. I hate this level because of those shooty people. Based on my experience of the one time I got to the final area, we are nowhere near close to being close to the final area. I actually forgot there's another level that I wasn't thinking about that is also needs to be done. So we're really far away from the end. We might not even make it in the 2 hours. That's how, like, long the A rank is. That's why they have a quick version of it, a quick batch. Which in hindsight, maybe I should have done. But I wasn't thinking, and I refused to continue. It's interesting, I was talking to one of my friends the other day who's decided to try out World of Warcraft for the first time. Well, not the first time, but like the first time that paying for a subscription model. And you know, they've been, I wouldn't say raving, but they've been giving it generally a good review. And it surprises me a lot, because a lot of the time when I look at World of Warcraft, I think of it as this, you're just trying to rush to the end. And then the end stuff is what the people really like. It's the planning for this huge raid and then figuring out the mechanic quickly so that you can be the first to do it, you know, rushing for that first kind of thing. But it kind of sounds like actually there is some interesting parts to it that are that I hadn't even really seen before. Especially in the latest expansions, apparently. They've really been working on the story. Which makes sense. They probably saw Final Fantasy and went, oh, that's got a good story and interesting characters, and you can do it as a solo experience, and people play it. A lot of people play it literally just... They play it literally just so that... for the story, instead of just playing it for the late game raiding stuff. And they, like, value their players' time in an MMO. And so I think it's helped them a little bit. I don't think I want Light Crystal. It keeps giving me the option to take it. I keep not wanting to take it. I know it's good, but I still don't think of it as being real good. I think I'd look at the map from here. I'm at the end though, I think. I think. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah, I am. Cool. This boss is annoying. Another one of those bosses where, especially on this rank, kind of hard to dodge everything. Do you reckon the corruption is amount of enemies on the beacon when you fully lit it? Because I'm not sure. Do you find it kind of weird that there's these creatures that are obviously robotic, like fans, in this place that doesn't seem to be remotely robotic, other than... No, just remotely robotic. Maybe Gollum-like the other stuff, but not robotic. Boom, boom, ba doom, ba doom, ba boom, ba doom, ba doo, ba doom. I'm really glad I found this lo-fi stuff. Oh, never mind. This is a different guy. God, there's another guy after him. That's how you know it's bad. When it's taken that long to do that bit. Please stop attacking me. Please stop shooting. Get at him. Kill him. Now he does the stupid thing where he heals all his health and you just gotta stand here and take it. Why are you in a place where there isn't actually any actual... a lot of a lot of bodies to do stuff? Like, you're a necromancer, but you're not in a place that had skeletons until you were there. I'll take the Rune of Necromancy. I know we were going down the Lunatic one, and I probably will take the Lunatic when I get it again. But the Rite of Necromancy is just always good. I'll take the Pharaoh. He's not the best, but he's better than nothing. See, this is the area I thought we were on. Oh, we're losing properly here. We are not doing nearly enough damage to these enemies. Why? We're over-leveled. It's slightly worrying if I'm being completely honest, because these are basic enemies. And I'm failing against them. They're not even in like a heal aura. I don't think we're going to be able to finish this run today. This is very, very worrying. We can't kill stuff, then we can't keep up our kill streak thing. If we can't keep up the kill streak thing, we can't kill stuff quickly. We need more ascended weapons, I think. Problem is, I don't actually know how to get some of the ascended weapons for the summoner. I'm not really good at getting the ones for the regular guy. I know we're using our special ability a hell of a lot, but I'm in this situation where I kind of need to, I think. I need to get something to increase my damage pronto. And it's certainly not going to be coming from leveling, so it's got to come from something else. Unless those guys were specifically made to be stronger than average. And I don't think they were. Up our damage by 37%. Bit more damage, bit more damage. I don't want that. Ignore them. Okay, reducing the champion's damage is pretty good. Killing them can result in magma. That's pretty decent. I'm slightly worried about fighting a boss. So let's get a buff before I fight a boss. Reduce health. Yeah, I'm fine with the reduced health. Generally, in my opinion, that artifact, you never don't take that. Okay, right. We've bumped up the mummy, so maybe it can do some damage. We are doing nothing. We were doing nothing! Well, I mean, we did better than I expected. We did better than I expected. Yeah, that's all we can do at the moment. What do I do when it comes to this guy? I need to figure out what you do in terms of soul cards. I've never seen these before. Weirdly. Blunt edge. You no longer need... Get metal transmutation. Up to level 4. Requirement, require any cumulative card level. Oh. I don't know what cumulative card level is. Probably something I don't really do or something. Duality. Complete... Okay, these are just ranked ones. Cursed book. I think what I want is these things. Founded beam and pike. Fourth dimensional thinking, teleport a cactus plant. I don't know what that is. Get spear. Get goblin's hand up to level 8 with summoner. Look, Deathma. Get weightless crystal. Okay, what was the one I got? I feel like I got weightless crystal, didn't I? Interesting. Do we want to do a quick regular one? Or do we want to do a challenge? Like a low-level challenge. These ones don't normally take that long. But like as our regular boy. What are my talents at the moment? Oh yeah, I was leveling up that. I think we want our shuriken back if we're being honest. Actually, change talents. I don't think we want this one. I think we want... They're all maxed. Area buff? Area buff is kind of cool. Let's go area build in the challenge. Plebeian or tainted soul. I'll take plebeian. Let's do a quick game of this then. We might not complete this. In fact, we very likely won't complete it because we only got 20 minutes. But it'll be fun. Is this a weapon? I don't think it is. Right? No, it's not a weapon. That's a weapon. Not a weapon I want, though. Take magic wand. I kind of want pike. But I don't know the thing for it, sadly. This one's really... I'm really liking this song for some reason. I recognize this from something. What do I recognize this from? Has this been using a YouTube video I've watched before? It's gotta be, right? I mean, I don't know why I'm asking you guys as if you'd know a video I've watched, you know? Unless I specifically talked about it, which I don't think I did. I think that sound it's doing is just something maybe I've seen like Undertale music and stuff. That's my only thinking at the moment. You know what I'd like to know? Because I was thinking this, I was thinking about Overlord, this anime slash manga that I had watched ages ago. And the whole premise of that show is that the main character is part of a guild who only use sort of monstrous races. And they're really rare in this MMO that they're playing. Because most people go human. And I always thought that was the most ridiculous thing ever. Because I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to think that human is the thing that most people are going to be playing, you know? And it made me think, like, who in an MMO actually does just play a human? Like, I'd love to learn, like, the reasoning and the logic behind why they went, I'm going to be a human. Like, is there some sort of lore reason to it? I'm not even just talking MMOs. I mean, like, RPGs in general. Like, I've never gone into an RPG and gone, oh, I have the option to pick a human or anything else. I think I'm going to go with the human. Unless it's a mechanical thing. I could see the logic behind, like, mechanically, it's like, oh, the reason I chose it is because humans got this buff that was insanely powerful. And I wished for that buff, and so I went human because I don't really care about what my race looks like. Like, my thinking is not like... My thing is not, why would they ever go this? It's more like, why would you ever go this when there is feasibly other options that are the same strength, but you aren't human? Oh, we got area buff, didn't we? We probably should be taking area things. Guess we technically did, because the They make areas when they do those attacks. This isn't an aerial one though. Made a bit of a mistake there. I don't think this magic wand is actually doing too much, if I'm being completely honest. I don't want that ever. Firing. You know what? I think I'm gonna quickly change off of this. I don't actually like this. Monument, I don't really like you. Cool, we're back. Blows a vial. Probably should have taken the one where it increases my chances of them exploding into fire. But I didn't take it. But it's not specific to this area anyway, so it should be fine. Do I have that thing where it goes on 2 people? Yeah, I do. Cool. Boom. 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 This one is an AoE. This doesn't say area. This one technically says area. My logic is I'm picking everything that says area. Is there any logic to this logic? No, there's no logic. It's not really logic. And if you dare say I'm using the word logic too much, I won't be happy. Let's go fight this thing. Gets me another card. Killing enemies is always the quicker of the ways of advancing once your build is, like, decent. Like, it should be the quickest way. Guess whether it actually is a whole other situation. Boom. Boom. Why would I ever lower my critical? That's the one. This is the thing. I don't think I'll unlock certain items because they're like, have this low of a critical. And I'm like, no. Why would I ever do that? Boom. Boom. Spike shield? Don't mind if I do. Increase my offense and defense? Oh, you spoil me. I really need to take area upgrades. Range? Yeah, let's take duration. Maybe I'll make some of my projectiles actively do something. I feel like all of my damage is just coming from these vials I'm throwing. I don't like split. I'll take spiked shield though. Oh, it's a survive one. I thought it was a kill enemies one. Bow, 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 bow. That's not fair. You can't shoot from outside of the blimmin' area. Bow. In fact, new rule, you just can't shoot. I think that's fair, right? God, look at this range on my blimmin'... on my firing. I can only imagine it's similar for my katana as well, because that's an area thing. Just hard to see that one in action. Whereas the flame one actually obviously does a huge ring. Bow, bow, bow. Aiming, no. Look, let's just re-roll. I'll take an upgrade to my shurikens. I'm not happy about it because I want area boosts, but still. This one's technically an area boost because every time I do that, the range goes up. Why did I take the range lowering thing? Why did I think that that would be a good idea? It's gonna take so long to get that range back up. I do occasionally lose my mouse once the abilities get too high. Take the damage mitigation just so that we take less damage. Practice, weak point, iron skin, holy cross I'll take. Card selection. Take spike shield. Attack speed I'll take. Reroll though. Give me... No! I'll take projectile speed. I'll take the increase to that. It's not what I want though, is it? The shop didn't have what I wanted. I'll take the extra projectiles. I'm not going heavy projectiles this time around, but... Reroll. I'll take this. I like the chance that even my non-fire things will shoot fire. How is there not the area one? I couldn't have banished that. I wouldn't have banished that, right? That's not me. Take the range increase. Just because I feel like once the range of my magic wand gets to a level where it's good. There it is! Yes, the increase in size! It's only by like 12%, but it's still something. And now I feel like you get it more often once you've clicked it once. I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. You know, I could have been upgrading my weapons, but screw that. I'm just gonna continually upgrade my area. Which is kind of upgrading some of my weapons. Look at that now. That's actually usable. Give me the cool death ring. I forget what it's called. What did I put those on? Oh, those. Yeah, sure, why not? See, this is the power level you get when you've done an A rank match and you go back to doing C ranks. You just mow through stuff. Are we still on the first area? God, we did not get through this quickly. Yeah, I don't know why I thought for a second I would be able to get through something in 10 minutes that I definitely couldn't. We're only just at the boss of 3 stages. Limit break? Firing? I don't want Windblade, but I will take timescale up and rune and this up. We'll go until we've properly hit the 2-hour mark. And when I mean properly, I mean literally when I know when I was supposed to start and when I'm supposed to end. Literally when it says where I'm supposed to end. Boop ba doo ba doo boop ba doo boop. We can also speed this up a bit by just spamming dodge, but using it as a movement ability. I guess it's not a dodge, it's a dash. There's a difference to that. Boop You know, the wizard staff is doing stuff now. It's this boy. It's the shaman. He's onto his second round now, which is dodging these. Compare this to the one at A rank, where he's shooting them faster and wider. In this one, I can just sort of do that. You know, glides vaguely to the left, and I dodge all of them. In the other one, I have to, like, dodge through the attacks and stuff. You know what I mean? Let's go to the Ember Dunes. I always go to the Behemoth Graveyard, because I always think it's better, but I don't know if it's better. I think the only thing that changes is unique items. Meow, meow, meow. Down, down, down. Wait, why is my... Oh, there. It goes to that level. I was like, why is my ring so small? Not that the ring's so small. It's that I was looking at the tiny ring that you're not supposed to see normally when the area's at normal. Problem is, the only other area boosting thing I remember is much, much later. In fact, I don't even think we get to the area where that one is. Because it's like you sacrifice your pickup to gain extra area. Boom. We'd have done that so much quicker if there was more enemies. Katana or attack speed? Let's get the katana up. Meditate. I mean, that one's fine. No, I don't want the chicken statue. I'll take the carved dice. I'll take this as well. Crossbow. Neither of these say area, so I pick this one. When in doubt, just look at the little tags and just go with that. What did you build your whole blimmin' build around? Like a plus 25% attack speed buff? Why? Shrugs. I don't want any of the... Well, I kind of want that. I kind of want that. Boop. Shop time. Sand armor, no. I'll take the adventuring license. Take this. I'll re-roll. Anything good? God's Wrath is good. Penetration is decent, but not insanely good. Got a Champion's Bracelet as well. Effectively just spending all of my money. For good reason. We got good items, I'm not denying it. Is the bow the one that's shooting forward? Yeah, I'll take the damage mitigation. I'll take the damage mitigation. For obvious reasons. If I get hit, I don't want to instantly just lose. No, I don't want to lose the size. Kunai are good, but they're not area. I want a cool staff. I think it's called a Thunder Staff. Don't even know if I have that unlocked. And I want the the Death Ring. And that's it. Look, all I'm saying is, these enemies should fear me. And they should just give me all their loot. And they don't really attack the shopkeeper. Like, obviously he's in the middle, so if they're coming towards you and they have to go through him, they do. And he takes damage by them doing that. But that's like the most. It's not like they actively go for him, they go for me. Benediction, sure. It means at the absolute worst we're getting a buff to our damage when we take a loss. Sadly, it seems like we're going to get to the point where this is going to be over in a sec. So we'll probably do this one and the next one, and then we'll have to call it. Not particularly successful, but I've had a lot of fun, and it's definitely got me out of this rut I actually was in this afternoon because of stuff. Just annoying little things where, like, I don't want to get into it near the end of the stream, but needless to say, I'm pissed off at these people that take a job and just don't actually do the job, you know? It's as simple as that. You're gonna take a job, finish the job. Because if you don't, I'm just gonna get annoyed. Anyway, I will see you on Wednesday for some Baldur's Gate. I will see you on Friday for some Final Fantasy XIV. But until then, I hope you've had a good time. I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye. Bye 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 bye.